everybody, and welcome back
to the most offensive podcast on the planet.
Very polarizing.
Very polarizing.
Where three idiots talk about stuff they don't know about, speculate wildly, don't take positions, and flip-flop either side of the line.
Yeah, just based on very much no knowledge on any of the topics discussed. So if you're looking if you were looking for a podcast where three people who don't know what they're talking about try to talk about stuff, you found it.
We're over 100 episodes in, so
yeah. So
something's working.
So strap on and strap in, and
we're enjoying it.
Enjoy the ride, just enjoy it
by all means.
Yeah.
Just imagine you've gone for some kind of family dinner, and you have three uncles. That's myself, Sips, and Lewis.
Yeah,
and they sit at one end of the table. And the other people in the family say, don't listen to any of the crap they come up with, honestly. Yes, you can have a laugh and listen in and everything, but don't believe a word they say. They're idiots.
Yeah.
That's us. We're the three uncles at the end of the table that nobody really wants to talk to.
No.
But we're so loud and obnoxious and we're fucking talking over everybody that they just end up having to do it and they just give up.
They give up.
They let it wash over them like a tide of shit from one of Sips's favorite things, the giant London sewage pipe.
A shit tsunami, yeah. A shitnami.
So what have you guys done this week?
Wait a second. Poonami.
Yeah, Poonami.
That's Poonami.
There we
go. Sorry. Yeah, that just came to
me. That's a different thing.
That's Poonani.
Punani. Yeah, it's close.
Boomers.
What did I do this week? Listen, I got one for you guys. I've been thinking about this one. Right. You've died, okay? You're overweight, a little bit overweight, okay? Turns out maybe you didn't lead the best life that you could have.
Right.
You thought you were, but you weren't, okay? You just didn't. So you wake up and you find yourself in a corridor. Not an overly tight corridor, but it's a corridor.
But you are overweight.
Okay?
It's a little tight because I'm overweight, so...
Yeah.
You turn around and there is a wall. So there's only one way for you to go, and that's to follow the corridor, okay?
Okay.
It's just like an industrial, kind of like awfully lit corridor. It's not creepy in any way or anything. It is what it is. It's a corridor. You're walking down it because you have no other choice.
Right.
You can either just stand there and do nothing or start walking. So you start walking. And as you start walking, you notice that the walls are starting to like close in a little bit, right? So the corridor is narrowing, right?
Okay.
But you can smell fresh air, like a hint of fresh air. And you can kind of hear nice sounds in the distance, like some birds chirping, and just, it sounds nice, right?
Yeah.
You keep walking. The corridor narrows and narrows and narrows and narrows and narrows and narrows. And at this point, you can actually see, you're like, oh shit, there is an end to the corridor. There's something out there. It's not giving you much, but you can see that it's like beautifully outside. There's like some trees and you can hear nature and you can hear some people laughing in the distance, probably having a picnic or something. You get to the edge of the corridor and it's too narrow for you to squeeze through, right? And you're stuck there forever, just looking at what could have been. Like, if only I'd lived a better life and wasn't so overweight, I could squeeze myself through that little gap.
But you could just run up and down the corridor and lose weight.
Get to paradise. No, you can't, because it doesn't work. Like, there's no weight loss in the afterlife, or like
because I'm slightly overweight
in your personal
God
hell,
is going to punish me forever.
Yes.
Or the afterlife is going to
and probably
Tubby,
other stuff too.
You get to stay there.
Probably other stuff too.
But you've done.
But it just so happens that it feels like you're being punished for being overweight.
Okay,
but that's just part of it.
That's just a
is
small
there
part
any
of it.
follow up, or is this just that's
it? That's the rest of your
Okay.
eternity. Just like, oh shit, I wish I could fit through this gap.
Which circle of hell is this that we're trapped in here?
I'd say it's a pretty mild one. Like
it's rectangle,
of all the possible hells you could be stuck in, it's an annoying one for sure. It's probably
you're not in agonizing pain, but it's mental.
No, but
pain.
your mental
it's
pain
anguish
is like
for the rest of your life.
You're filled with anguish the whole time.
Do you feel like hungry and thirsty after a while?
Nah, those things don't really matter. I mean, maybe
what's back down the corridor?
Maybe just just that wall. There's the wall that was behind you when you spawned in. Yeah.
So you're trapped in there.
But that would be terrible.
Yeah. So,
for potentially trillions of years or whatever.
Yeah, these have been my shower thoughts most of the week. So
I spend a lot of time, I don't know if it's getting older, but I spend a lot of time thinking about hell.
Right.
And I read a book, good few years ago now, called Inferno,
right.
About a guy who's a sci-fi writer, and he dies at a party and wakes up and he's in, he followed the Dante's Inferno description of what hell is like.
Right.
He wrote this story, as if he'd been there, sort of thing. and you start off in a little sort of urn, and until you're stuck in there until for some thousands of years, or the time isn't really a thing in hell. That's like the whole point, is that you can't count the days or the minutes. It's just endless, interminable, like a bus ride where you don't really know where you're meant to get off, and you're just going through industrial estates.
Right.
I think we can all relate to that. You're just thinking,
Yeah.
when is this miserable ride going to end? There's nothing to look at. There's no one to talk to. I didn't bring anything with me to do. I'm just stuck here, and I don't know when we're going to get where we're going. That's time. You're just basically stuck there. So you're in this urn, and eventually he cries out, "God help me!" And the urn breaks open. He's in this giant field surrounded by urns. It's just like a sandy desert, and all these other urns there. And he just starts walking, and he's walking towards stuff, and it's not getting any closer. And eventually this guy comes over to chat to him, and he sort of tries to tell him, "Look, you're in hell." And he's like, "Don't be ridiculous. I must have had my brain frozen, and I've woken up in the future, and this is some weird alien theme park." Like, he's trying to figure it out, because he's an atheist. He's trying to figure out in his mind, this can't be real.
Yeah.
And it's his adventures in hell, if you like.
Right.
And it's good. I recommend it. It's very old-fashioned. It's very 70s sci-fi.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I'd read
but
that,
it's got some silly stuff. Like, he bumps into quite a few famous people down in hell. Billy the Kid, he bumps into him. And there's all kinds of weird rules that scare me about hell. Because in this version anyway, in order to get from this field of urns, or whatever you'd call it, to the judgment area, you have to cross the river Styx, right? And you have to pay the toll to the guy, what's the name of the boatman? Anyone remember? Is it Charon? It could be Charon.
Yeah, something like that.
You give him the coin, and he takes you over. If you fall in the water or jump in the water, you're stuck there forever. There's no chance of redemption. Right. And I was like, well, that fucking sucks. I mean, nobody knows the rules, which kind of sucks. But as he goes into hell, all the people getting punished in different ways. And the main reason they're being punished is because they haven't changed as people.
No.
So if they're still doing the same bad stuff. So he sees these two groups of people. Well, he sees these two groups of people who are pushing a boulder, and one team is trying to push it up the other team's hill, and the other team is trying to push it up the other team's hill, and they're sort of doing battle over this stupid boulder, and it's never going anywhere, because of course, in this version of hell, if you die or are injured, a little while later, you'll be healed, so that you can't just kill yourself and get out of it that way.
Sure.
You can't take injury, and you don't age, so you're just stuck forever. And even though you can suffer horrible injuries and pain, you'll heal again. I actually stole it for the Bodega book, as I did everything in the Bodega book. But it's sort of, I just thought it was a really interesting idea, because it's important that in hell there's no escape, right? There's no time, there's no escape. Your body is not, it can be horribly deconstructed, but it'll automatically reconstruct itself, so you can be tortured again. So he sees these two groups of people fighting, and he's like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're just like, "We've got to. Those bastards over there are trying to push it up our hill." And it's like they're stuck there torturing themselves with something that they have brought with them, if you like. It's not a punishment that they can't escape from. All they had to do...
So what are they, just competitive dad?
They're like these kind of competitive assholes that, never give up, and nobody beats me.
They can't see past the competition. They can't see the bigger picture, sort of thing.
Their ego won't let them, or whatever.
Right.
Is there an equal hill across the road where there's the lazy people, who are, do you know what I mean? And they're just sitting on their boulders forever, like smoking weed, and they're doomed to do that because they can't be asked to push the boulder.
There's honestly, if you read the book, it's not a very big tome. I think it's out of print. I bought it.
Honestly,
in
like these things, you can be done for anything. Like you could be done for being like paying too much attention to your dick and not paying enough attention to your dick.
But that's the point, is that he finds all these people. One of them is his old lady who was his neighbor, who was a sweet old lady, but she was a bit of a gossip. And she's got this hideous punishment. She has to carry this superheated piece of metal that covers her. It's like a cage that she's stuck in and everything. And he's like, this is so out of line with what she did. Like, this punishment is so awful, and what she did was just not that bad. How can this be? And he comes to realize that, in fact, they could all just escape these horrible punishments if they worked together, or if they would listen, or if they would change a little bit.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. So the whole point of it was to make you face what it is about you that was bad, and by doing that, to beat it. But
you'd think that would happen pretty fast. People would learn pretty fast.
You would think, because you're there for thousands and thousands of years.
I think it's like
I learned in an afternoon. Like, yeah, all right, maybe I shouldn't be gossiping. All right, I'm gonna definitely. This burning cage is pretty awful.
Yeah, but I don't think people. I don't think people realize, because I don't think people. There's people out there, lots of people out there who don't have any insight into what they're doing and how it could be wrong. They just assume that what they're doing is right, sort of thing, and that will never be able to accept any blame or any responsibility for for potentially inflicting misery upon another person, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's sort of like really basic human nature, isn't it? It's why people can do horrible things to each other.
You're right. And and where's the line? And who's the moral? Where's the book that explains what you should and shouldn't do?
I like that. That's interesting.
You smiled at a gay man. That a million years in hell. It's like, what? Yes, it says that in the Bible that you shouldn't be nice to gays. You should hang them. It's like, okay, whoa, sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops. Guess I'm going to hell then. Like, do you know what I mean? Who's the authority of this shit? And it's so out of date so quickly.
Who's the authority is God, obviously, I think. But I don't think if there is a hell, I don't think it would be judged in quite that way. I really don't, because it would be too arbitrary, and it wouldn't make sense.
And it's so flaky and loose. Like, what's scary is that we just don't know, and even. And if you try and follow these 2,000-year-old texts, all you're going to do is scare yourself silly, assuming you're doing everything wrong. I don't know. It's all bollocks.
I'm not scared of a fucking book, you pussy. What are you talking about? It fucking takes more to scare me. Okay.
It's weird, isn't it? It's really interesting to think about, because there's so many depictions of hell. And you see it in like loads of movies depict it differently.
I like the concept though, and I like.
It's a very interesting thought experiment.
I really like what Flax is saying about the old lady whose only crime is being a gossip, which in itself is kind of shitty, right? You don't really want to be gossiping too much, because it can be harmful. It can ruin people's lives or make them miserable or whatever. But the alternative is
keeping secrets.
No, yeah, but I love I love that she's got like this fucking hideous like cage made of lava that she's stuck in, that she could get out of, but she can't figure out how. Like I would totally watch
stop gossiping.
A TV show series.
She's
about
whispering
that.
through the bars. Oh, did you hear about Sharon? She's got a new handbag. Oh, I don't know how she affords that. I saw her queued up for food stamps last week, but she's got a new handbag.
It's Gucci. Can you believe that? How could she afford Gucci?
Do you know what I mean? It's like, shut up, woman. If you just stop gossiping, we can get this cage off you.
Get back in your lava cage.
All right, so here's one of the sillier parts in the book, is that he meets this guy early on, his sort of guide, Benny, who seems to have some kind of powers, if you like. Like he understands hell better than Alan, who's the Alan Carpentier, who is the main guy. And he seems to know how to get around certain things and everything. And later on in the story, Benny falls into this pit with all these really bad people. And I think Alan has to rescue him somehow. I can't remember the details.
Is there no lifeguard for this in hell? There's
a lot of tumbling into things.
I feel like you shouldn't be just I mean, first of all, health and safety it feels like that should be in the
Or
Bible
hell and
for a start.
safety, I guess.
But do you know what I mean? Like, you can't have someone who's done you can't have like someone who's done something really small, like, I don't know, accidentally.
That was my point. Someone is a gossip.
Spilled a coffee on someone, but didn't.
They
mean
trip
to
over a straight urn and fall in the river Styx. That's it. That's your ass forever. No escape.
You can't just put clumsy people in hell. It's not. They're not. It's not
just
fair.
filled with Mr. Magoo's. Oh shit!
Oh,
whoops!
But get this. It gets a little silly. So Benny, his guide, turns out to be Benito Mussolini.
Oh,
he reveals that he's Benito Mussolini all this time.
Oh, this is my friend Addy.
Addy Hitley.
Nice moustache.
This is Pol Pot. He's a nice guy, a little clumsy.
No masking of the name.
If you like, I introduce you to Stalin.
Yeah, this is Stalin. But we got a little gang going here, don't worry. Yeah, but I just thought it was funny. So at the end, they have to climb up this big statue of the devil, and at the top, it turns into heaven. But you've got to climb up it, and they get there, and Alan realizes that Benito's been here before. Because he's like, you've been here before and you didn't go up. And he's like, well, yeah, but, I had to come back and help other people. Like, it's not fair for me to just fucking leg it. And Alan realizes that that's his redemption, is that Alan turns around and goes back to help other people get out. And that, in a way, even though it's going to be more suffering, he knows the escape now. He's going to bring other people there. I thought it was actually a really interesting story.
Idea.
Yeah. I like that idea that in a way is how you've earned it, is by saying, no, I could have redemption right now, but actually I don't deserve it yet. I'm going to go back and help some other people.
So
and
what
earn
you're
it.
saying is that they're deliberately not putting any kind of systems in place in hell to redeem anyone. They just want other people who are trying to redeem themselves to help other people redeem. Do you know what it's like? It's like someone automating a system like Steam or whatever. It's like Valve have like 3 employees, like, you know, and all the rest is just
they're relying on the community.
Themselves.
They're relying on the community.
User base and the game devs and the reviewing system and everything like that's all done by
we
them.
make a lot of rules for hell, right? Like there's never rules for heaven, because I don't think that the way that we talk about hell and what types of hell there are and stuff like that means that like heaven would be different to what we think, right? Like
it would have to be.
What's your ideal heaven? Your ideal heaven is you having a fun time sinning, pretty much, right? And I think that goes for most people. And obviously that can't be. So like say we're talking about hell, and say hell is just
my
like,
idea of heaven is it's really hot. You know,
but
maybe like there's a barbecue going on.
Yeah, no, but the
smell of meat.
The thing is,
you know,
I want to be slaying pussy and snorting coke 24/7.
Well, this is it. But
there's like a rock music going on.
Humans can't exist in heaven because they just don't have the capacity to.
We are describing hell. Yeah.
Are there other people there?
I don't think there can be. Okay, so
but then equally, you can't live with them and you can't live without them. Like we're social creatures. I can't live without people.
In the same way,
hell
is like an eternity of like anguish or something. Like how I was talking about that corridor, and that's you for eternity, right? You're just like, fuck, I can't get through this. You know, you're just like frustrated. You're filled with anguish. There's no getting better. There's no way around it. That's it, right? That's it. So heaven has to be the same thing. It has to be like, think of something nice, like you're laying on a beach. Okay.
Boring. I can't do that forever.
But you have no concept of anything else. So it's just nice. You're just relaxed forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'll get bored.
You wouldn't though. You wouldn't have the same mind you have now, because if you had the same mind that you have now, you can't be in heaven. Because you want to do things that aren't heavenly.
But then de facto, that's not heaven.
No, but I mean,
like that's being senile.
Hell, we accept that hell should be some sort of like punishment where like you have like some anguish. So you'd have to have your mind, right? Because you'd have to be able to say, "Fuck, this sucks." You know what I mean? But in heaven,
so I'm lying around in a kind of blissed out, non-thinking, unconscious state.
You're just like on drugs forever.
That sounds terrible.
But that's how it would have to be.
No, I disagree.
You couldn't have a place where you could just like fuck bitches all the time and do drugs and stuff like that, because it's all sinful. That you can't sin in heaven.
Right, but the point is, I just spent my whole life not sinning. You got to let me sin.
But having a really relaxing, torture-free eternity is the payoff. Right?
But it means nothing.
Okay, well, I would rather be bored. I'd rather be bored laying on a beach and be relaxed than fucking stuck in some anguishing hell. Like,
but that's the point, is that you have to have something to compare it to. Otherwise, it's not heaven. We learned this from the Matrix, people. Entire crops were lost.
I know, but
do you not remember?
But the thing is, though, I don't think a heaven exists that would be ideal for you, Flax. I don't think it can exist. I think it
can
contradicts
exist. It absolutely
itself.
can exist.
Right. So what?
It can exist.
So describe me a heaven.
I'll tell you what it is.
A legit heaven that has no sin or anything in it.
All right. I'll tell you what it is.
That you would enjoy for the rest of eternity.
They just put you back again. It's just Earth again.
Right.
But this time everything works out for you.
Right.
So you see the same shit, everything like that, but everything seems to work out for you. You end up fucking Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos reincarnation here. He's already died in some previous life. This is Jeff Bezos 2.0, maybe 12.0, I don't know.
Right.
And if you have a lousy life, you come back as another person and have a shit time. One of those people that just nothing goes right for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You had a good life, you come back as another person, and everything works out for you.
But even people like that can find happiness, though. Like it's not that black and white, right? Like some people have really miserable lives,
They're the happiest people.
But they go on to carve out happiness within that somehow.
Right, but then that's an aspect where you're in the middle. That's a new one.
They've lived the best life, right? Because
but that's a new soul.
They figured it out.
So we got some new souls and so on. Because obviously there have to be more souls now because there are more people, right?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
So
I mean,
there are more people, isn't it? That there are more people alive today than have ever lived, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So there must be new souls coming along. So that's their first run, the middling ones.
How do we know, though? The only concept that we have on the population of this planet is based on where we're at right now. We don't know. It's been around a long time. I mean, there could have been like other races that have just been, you know.
Don't you think there'd be some evidence?
Look at dinosaurs, and that's like
we know about them.
I know, but I'm saying like, what about way before them? Like there
we know about
anything.
That.
Wait, maybe
we
not.
Have fossils.
Wait, maybe not. The Earth could have been like much more different.
No.
Yeah, it could have been made up of like jelly men that have all
know.
dissolved and all the evidence is gone.
You don't know.
Oh, ghosts.
Oh my goodness.
Ghosts, people. No, honestly, like, so you guys are right. Like the idea, traditional idea.
We are not right. Sips is definitively wrong. He's claiming that before the dinosaurs, there was some other jelly people.
I'm not saying that there was. I'm saying that there could have been. You don't know for sure.
Hey, that's a very scientific outlook. We just don't know, P-Flax.
You're telling me that before, like, we've got the very earliest, a lot of the very, very early life forms. We have fossil records for that. You're saying that before that, an entire race evolved, was on the Earth in its very early stages.
It's possible,
somehow
we haven't even been to the bottom of the ocean yet. Who knows what's down there?
Sand.
Yeah, only James Cameron went down there.
Sand and dead fish.
Right, okay. Well, I'm just saying, anything is possible. I don't think you can discount it. You never know. Maybe in 100 years, you'll look back on this because you'll be a head in a jar or something on a spaceship. You'll be like, holy fuck, Sips was right.
Not on your bloody spaceships,
I
wish
I had expanded my mind a little bit instead of being so fucking sure of myself this whole time. Because 100 years on, look at this guy was actually
This is a really interesting thing. The classic idea of hell is this kind of fiery pit of physical torture.
Instead, it's this podcast.
It's very dated in the idea that it's supposed to whip people into line and get them to believe in God and be good and virtuous, or else, it's a punishment. It's a very naive, low level, something you'd have for a 5-year-old, eat your dinner, or, you're going to have to go to the room and
burn
get
you for
slapped.
all eternity.
Yeah, you might get a smack, behave yourself or you get
It's weird,
smacked.
right? I like thinking about it because there's a lot to think about, but I wouldn't it's not something I'm interested in like practicing or reading any facts
We just
about.
like to think about it, right? It's just an interesting
like a
thing.
mental like puzzle or something,
Yeah.
Like I just like to sort of think about it. I don't know.
But I do understand what you're saying about you couldn't have heaven because sinning is fun.
Yeah.
And sinning by definition could not exist in heaven. But I think the whole idea is that you get to heaven, you get a free pass.
I mean,
you know what I mean? It's like you've got the ticket at the theme park that lets you skip all the queues. God's like, do you know what? You've had a great life. You've done really well. Fuck as many prostitutes and snort as much. Like,
yeah.
Go what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look the other way.
But here's the thing. All of that stuff doesn't make any sense, right? None of it does, because people are dynamically changing and constantly evolving. Unless you somehow, when you die, you're like locked in a specific sense of mind. Like, for example, even with like physical torture, okay, if you're being like flame grilled on a fucking, barbecue on a spit roast every day and like rotated around like a roast pig, like after a few days, your brain is going to have adapted to that. And, and even if you're continually healed or through magic or some bullshit, it's stupid. The point is that there's other tortures that are necessary
they'd mix it up.
to have that.
I used to
like
think
mental torture. But also the same thing with heaven. Like, you do smoke and blow and cook us one day. You're not going to want to do that every day forever.
No, but I'd
You're
like
going to
the
want to
option.
mix it up. And so, that's the thing. Like, it's got to be constantly dynamically changing, and someone has to craft that.
No.
Or it just becomes out of control,
It's just
because
like a
you would
world.
then start.
It's like a world.
If you start sinning and doing coke and stuff and then heroin and you get addicted to it, what is it, some special heroin that you don't get addicted to?
Yeah,
Like,
you don't get addicted to
and
it.
it doesn't give you any poisoning or anything?
No,
like what-
nothing.
I mean, here you go. Like, it's all, but yeah, who is establishing these rules and how are they
God.
fucking? Yeah, but who's?
Because he's God.
I know it's stupid.
Yeah, you
though.
can't
It's all
just say that though.
bullshit.
Listen, I thought at one point I was like, what would be really cool? A really cool heaven would be you live like a decent life and you have lots of happy memories or whatever. You arrive in heaven and it's just like a control room where you have like your brain has been modified so that you can like very quickly identify a point in time and travel back to it and relive like a happy time, right?
Yeah.
So like,
But I would like to be able to explore the universe.
so you could just randomly go back and just be like, oh fuck, okay, I really want to just have dinner with like my small kids and my wife again or something. A happy memory, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or I want to go and I would love to, if I could like go throughout human history.
Sure.
Go and watch some
But
of the
actually-
battles in the Punic Wars, or go and see the dinosaurs, or travel to a distant planet where there's also life
but
and just observe
that
them.
would be so fucking miserable, and you would just feel like shit all the time because
Why?
you're traveling in the past in places that you can't make any changes. There's nothing for you to progress. There's no way
How
for
about
you
you can?
to change.
How about you can make changes?
as a,
How about
as
there
a
is things that
person.
you should progress?
You can't make changes in history.
Well, we're just allowing anything, though.
No.
by
No,
this
we're not.
point.
He's saying they can't.
So you go back to these times and you relive these memories, but that's all they are. They're just memories. And you get nothing from them except for misery, right? Because you're just like, oh fuck. As much as I enjoyed that, I missed that. And at the time, I didn't fully appreciate it.
Yeah, but
And
you'll
now
see,
here
you'll
I
see
am.
them again.
Filled with sorrow and sadness because
But now you're describing hell. This is hell.
yeah, exactly.
You're in the wrong place,
Exactly.
mate.
But
Climb up the statue.
Sipsy, you're going to see them again in heaven.
Yeah, but
They're
you might
gonna be
not
in
though.
heaven.
It depends
But
on what
that's
heaven
very
you get.
sad.
Yeah, I know.
So maybe
it-
maybe you can go into hell and pull them out like Benito Mussolini did in
right, yeah.
the
Yeah.
book Inferno.
I-
Send me in, boss.
I like thinking about it, but every time I think about it, I realize how improbable the whole thing has to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Like it's impossible because I don't think that anybody can be truly happy in any capacity other than in the exact moment they're in, right? Like that's the only way to be happy. To like to
That's
to
a
take
beautiful sentiment.
every minute to just think, what am I doing right now? Am I happy doing this? I'm happy, right? You can't like retrospectively be like, I was happy because you don't know for sure, right? Because like,
Or I will be happy when
and
I
you can't look to the
lose
future
weight
and be
or
like,
whatever.
I'll be happy
No.
because I'll have X amount of money or whatever. Because that's the thing, you take yourself with you everywhere, right? If you're a miserable person, you will just be miserable. It doesn't matter what happens, right? Like, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. Well, maybe it does a little bit matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter what will happen in the future. Everything good could happen to you in the future, but you're a fucking total wet ass. You know, you're just like
wet ass.
You're just like just a fucking streak of piss, right? And
I do think one thing was funny is you said that you'd be watching, like if I said you could travel to any period in time and watch it, you were like, yeah, but you wouldn't be able to change anything. That's television, isn't it? Like you just
yeah,
watch
kind of. It's
happening.
interesting, but like if that was your whole existence all of a sudden,
No, it's just one
it would
aspect
be
of it.
interesting for a while, and then you'd just be like, "Fuck me!" Like,
No, I mean, think about this. Can you imagine if you could travel to an alien world and watch their civilization develop? Watch their TV shows. How fucked up is
fuck, it
their
would
Game
be
of Thrones
so
going to be?
tedious,
Alien Game
though.
of Thrones. It'd be great.
it would be so fucking tedious. Like it would
No.
suck.
It'd be
I-
fascinating.
I think you two have to understand that this you're confused about. You're arguing about something that isn't going to ever exist. Like, have you watched? All
right, Mr. Fun.
On one hand, you're
Oh,
saying that
Mr.
you could
Fun
do
Times.
anything, but it would be bad.
Let's argue about Lewis's sex life now on the topic of arguing
Well,
about
it's something that
things
isn't
that'll
going to
never
exist,
happen.
right?
It's like I could do something I'm in heaven. I could do something incredibly bullshit, supernatural, magical, but it would suck.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it
No,
but
it would though.
It's
Realistically,
just
everything
a funny
would.
conversation.
It would suck after a while.
We're just having a
I think
chat.
so.
Have you seen The Good Place, the TV show?
Oh, watch
No,
the first
I
series.
haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, it's all
It's
right.
good. It's about it's the idea is that you know that these people are sent to heaven, but it's not their heaven really, and it doesn't feel like heaven to them. You know, it's clever. You should watch it. It's funny and it's good, and it plays with that heaven hell kind of concept. You know, there's this idea that they're in the good place,
And it's got Jamila Jamil in, and she is fine.
Oh my gosh! Well, there you
She
go.
is fine.
Glowing accolade for that. Holy crap!
There you go.
So one thing I saw this week on Twitter was this post that was going around, and it was basically this thing about aphantasia, which is
that where
this-
you can't imagine things when you close your eyes? You got no mind's eye. Is that right?
Yeah, it's where you can't visualize images or
Is it the
things
apple?
in your
Holy
eye.
crap, that would suck.
Was it the
Yeah.
think of an apple?
It's a
which of
curse and a
these-
blessing at the same time, really.
Yeah.
Like being the opposite of that.
Well,
I
it's
mean.
something I'd sort of never heard of, really, and it was something that we've never really even acknowledged. You know, when we were kids or when we were at school, people were like, "Oh yeah, this guy's dyslexic. dyslexic, or this guy's autistic, or this guy's But aphantasia is this thing where you don't have It's not like you don't have an imagination necessarily, but it's like you can't visualize images.
Yeah.
And I think it is this. For a second, I was like, because the way the sort of the scale was presented was, it was presented as like, you can visualize a beautiful red, crisp, vivid apple. Okay. So if I were to tell you, like, can you imagine an apple in your mind right now? What does that look like? And it sort of had this scale, and it was like the next one was a little bit kind of fuzzy. The next one was like black and white. The next one was like kind of just a blur.
It was like looking at graphics through the ages, I would say.
Yeah, and talking to certain people about it afterwards and reading some stuff about it, it feels like it's something to do. It's not, people aren't always the same on the scale, but it doesn't actually matter. You can improve on the scale, but some people obviously don't have a mind's eye, and that is a sort of a thing with their brain. But it's not it's not necessarily like crippling.
What does it do to them? Like what are they not as good at? Imagination stuff, or like you remember that test you do in maths where you had to transpose shapes? It's like, if I flip this triangle through 80 degrees, which of these would it most resemble? And you have to sort of, which shape fits into this. Is that the kind of thing they can't do? Or is that because that's visual on a page, that's no problem? But if they had to imagine something, are they like the worst inventors ever because they can't imagine stuff? How does it manifest itself?
I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure if it's like one of those things which actually helps you in some ways, or in some things, and hurts you in others. But it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. But it was strange because Neil Gaiman, who's the famous writer and guy who mostly, honestly, Neil Gaiman, I used to really enjoy his writing, but it's sort of recently sort of become a bit more, I went outside into my garden, and at the bottom was the fairy cottage, and I spoke to the fairy queen, and she told me to go climb the beanstalk into the wizard's tower.
Oh man,
and up
my
there
daughter
was
would love all that.
All that.
She's
gosh,
4.
and I honestly, recently he's written a lot of amazing stuff. Anyway, he responded with the tweet, the apple I imagine isn't just a red apple. It's a covered in dew on a tree, and you can see the sunrise and all this stuff, right? And someone responded to him saying, "We get it, Neil. You have like an amazing imagination, And he sort of responded saying, I didn't realize anyone didn't. I thought everyone was number one like me, I thought we were just going to post, what we imagine out of our imagination. But a lot of people have trouble apparently seeing things in their mind's eye, or when they close their eyes or when their eyes are open. And I was wondering if for you two, what it was like, because for me, it's not easy to imagine things in my mind's eye, and I certainly can't. It certainly doesn't seem to me to be a vivid or like real seeing. It certainly is blurrier. So, for example, a test one of the tests that it sort of says is, imagine someone that okay, not well, that maybe you haven't, or quite well, but maybe you haven't seen them for a little while. So maybe like if we imagine each other, can you see my face like floating in your mind's eye as I'm talking to you?
I don't see it floating. I can see you like within the context of like a situation though. Like if in my mind I can like picture you like, at a restaurant or something like that, looking deep into my own eyes.
It's not like I close my eye and your face is floating in my vision.
No.
It's like I know it's in there.
It's
and
not
I can
like my
picture
lovely
it.
horse from Father Ted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more like, when you're daydreaming and your eyes almost stop seeing the world.
Yeah, you stare through the world sort of thing.
Yeah, and the world is kind of gone and your eyes are just like ignoring what they're seeing, and instead it's almost like a dream.
Yeah.
In the daytime. I guess they could call it a daydream.
Yeah.
It's just like float. It's almost like you're seeing it and dreaming, and I can picture stuff like that. So when I'm trying to picture something in my mind, my if I can do it, if I'm in the mood to do it, I'll kind of go blank and I'll just go away and I'll just sort of be. It's almost like a lucid dream.
Yeah.
So picture me in your mind.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Put your clothes on. Put your clothes on
Well,
right
if you
now.
want me to picture your head floating around, I can do that as well. Okay, your head is now floating around in my mind. I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have a body? Can you picture my body as well?
Yeah, a little skinny body.
If you want a body, I can add one to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Could you make me like walk around and stuff?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You're wearing a blue jumper.
You're moonwalking now in place for me.
Yeah, I can see him moonwalking too. Good job.
Oh my god. Okay, can you like pick out the details on like the clothes I'm wearing and
You
stuff?
got white shoes
Yeah,
on.
you got those white sneakers on. You got a
You've got
black
this
pair of
sticky
jeans
up hair.
and like a red woolly sweater.
I'll go for blue. I had blue, but red could work too. Let's
Sure.
change
What's
it to
the
red.
expression on my face?
Goofy
Like, what
grin.
am I-
Yeah,
Goofy
you just
Lewis
look
grin.
just like normal, like
Like in a
no
YouTube
expression for me.
Really? So is this something that you have seen before, or like is it like a photo?
I've seen you before.
No,
yeah.
now you're doing the Russian dance for me. You know the one.
Does it look like a memory or like a computer-generated image of me or
No,
something?
you just conjure it up. It's like I'm imagining
it's a
you
mix
doing
of
it.
things that I've seen before, but all I've done is I've transplanted your face onto.
So is
it.
this very, very vivid
So
to you? Is
it's
it
it's like a complex mix of imagery that I have seen before. Including
It's not like
Is it
a photo.
A real.
It's not like a photo.
It's
You
not-
know in a dream when if you're focusing on one thing in the dream, your mind fills in the background. Nobody's just floating in darkness unless that's the dream. But like if I'm imagining someone in a room, I have a sense of the place that they are,
Yeah.
but I couldn't peer at the detail without that becoming the dream.
Do you
so
always-
it's
when
like
you
having a
picture
very
somebody-
narrow lens.
When you picture somebody in a room, is it always like a very similar room? Like my go-to room is like a grandma's nursing home room for some reason. It's
No,
weird,
I
isn't
tend
it?
to think of a place that I associate them with.
It's
So
just-
when I
it's
pictured
just
Lewis,
like a bit beige with some floral accents, and like,
Yeah.
but I can change the room.
right?
But like my default, like if somebody says I'm in a room, I'm just like,
That's your
oh,
starter level.
That's my
Your starter
start.
level
That's my
is-
first room.
Okay.
Yeah, every time.
No, I tend to picture people in places that I either associate them with. So I pictured a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a few years, but the last time I saw him, we went to the pub near me, and so when I was picturing him, when you said picture a person that you haven't seen in a while, I thought of him. I remembered us in the pub garden and drinking a pint and having a laugh.
Yeah.
And then when you said Lewis, I was picturing him in the Yogscast office. With all the bookshelf behind him with all the miniatures and stuff. That was the background.
Yeah,
But it wasn't. It was like a
Interesting.
vague understanding of that background. I knew what it was, but I wasn't picking out every miniature in that fucking. glass
Another
cabinet.
place that I like to imagine people in is the Queen Vic pub in EastEnders. For some reason, no, I'm being deadly serious. Like it just, I like the aesthetic of it. Yeah, it's just like
time for laughing now, son.
I can smell that place. You know, every time I see it, I can like smell it. It's weird. It's just like it just seems so familiar somehow. But like,
Do you watch a lot of
obviously I've never been.
EastEnders?
Not even. No, not really. It's just something about the
Interesting.
look of it. Yeah.
So that's the other thing, isn't it? That you can smell and hear and sort of taste things. Like imagine like right now, a lovely soft piece of bread. You know, can you like taste that a little bit?
I can
in
smell
your
it. Yeah,
mind?
I can taste it as well. Yeah.
I have a very,
Yeah.
very, very bad sense of smell.
Right.
Most flowers, I can't smell them. Like Mrs. F will be like, smell this flower. And it's like, So when I find a flower that I can actually smell, I'm like huffing it like crazy.
Oh man, don't get me started.
It's amazing. But it's
love
for whatever
flowers.
reason, my sense of smell is very bad. Always has been.
I think mine's
Yeah.
average. I wouldn't say that I'm like
Yeah, well,
sensitive.
we don't. As humans, we don't use our sense of smell that much, do we? Really, apart from smell
but the
burning,
the
I
smell
guess.
of puke will make me puke. Like I can't. I hate this. I hate puke smell. Even and
Yeah,
strong
well, that's a common
shit as
thing.
well will make me almost.
But it is
puke.
designed to.
Yeah, I know.
The
I know.
smell of puke is designed to make you puke because it's. But it's if someone else has puked,
Yeah.
the whole point of a tribe is that it'll save the tribe.
You
if
shun them and
also
leave them
puke.
for the wolves.
No, because if they've eaten something which is making them sick, you should also be
Yeah.
sick. You
Well,
see.
some people
It's like-
are really sensitive to certain smells. Like I know those ones are like the typical ones.
Yeah.
But like some people, it's almost like they have an allergy to a smell or something, right? They're like overly sensitive to it. And same with some people are like that with certain lighting, like lights.
And some people like they can't stand the feel of cotton wool, like
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange, eh? I don't know where all that
Everyone's
comes
different.
from, but yeah.
I mean, so this Aphantasia thing, I just may be interested. I
That
mean,
is
I think the
interesting,
reality is that people are on different sides of the scale, definitely, and it is something that you shouldn't be worried about if it's harder for you to visualize things. And certainly, well, because I was concerned about, because I find it much harder to visualize things or to manipulate images in my mind. And some people just, it's very easy, it's very real, it's very vivid. Well, most people, I think, actually. And so, but apparently you can improve it by practice and it doesn't impact your life too much. But if you can't see anything, so there was this guy, Ed, who was the head of Pixar, Ed Catmull.
Right.
And he was doing some Tibetan meditation or whatever,
Sure.
which is a part of that is a visualization, and he was told as part of the practice to picture a sphere, floating in front of him, and he just couldn't do it for like a week, and so he found out that lots of people were able to form mental images so strong they could open their eyes and the image would still be there, so they could practically draw around the thing that they could see in front of them. But other people couldn't see anything at all. And in fact, unusually, quite a lot of very famous animators and artists, like the guy who created The Little Mermaid originally, has Aphantasia. Lots of people do.
All right.
Sort of from hand drawn to digital. And it's apparently not like even like a problem. Like,
do you suppose that the desire from a young age, especially because most people that are brilliant like at drawing or painting always draw, and I wonder if part of it is a desire to picture things even subconsciously. The rest of us can picture stuff in our mind, and that's fair enough. They want to draw stuff down because that's the only way.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
So Martin mentioned that Martin Littlewood said he was like a 5 on the scale, or whatever, like a sort of whatever it is, whatever the one where not able to sort of visualize things is. And that's unusual.
Yeah, it's a bit,
Never trusted him. Now I know why.
Yeah, never trust a 5. Never.
He's quite artistic, and obviously got started sort of building things in Minecraft. And I don't know, like maybe that desire to build and create and show things in that thing comes out from there. I don't know. He's a creative guy though, and it's certainly like not.
I think there's different ways of being creative. Like you can be visually creative, but like you can be there's other ways of being creative. Like you might not be able to picture something in your mind, but like you said, you might be able to go off and build something or design something really, really amazing or whatever.
Yeah, that's how you picture stuff. Is your imagination goes onto the page.
Yeah,
rather than just
and some
into your
people's
brain.
minds just work differently. They can invent something very complex that other people might not have been able to come up with.
I mean, they said, was it Mozart or Beethoven could hear the whole symphony in his mind. Most people, when you're thinking of music, and you're trying to imagine a tune, you're actually only really thinking of one track at a time.
I would write some really boring music. Like all of my music is just like but like I wouldn't know like where to put the bass lines or anything in. Like it would just be garbage. You know what I mean?
Well, we're not musicians.
Props to him for being able to fucking compose a symphony in his mind.
I'm gonna do it. I know you don't like it, but shout out to Beethoven / Mozart, whichever one it was.
Fucking let's do it, guys.
Let's do a shout out to them.
Shout out people. We'll fucking shout out the greats. Fucking Beethoven and Mozart. Good job, guys. No, it is impressive. You think like that's a while ago too that those guys came up with that shit.
Yeah, wow.
It is impressive how music and things like this do cause sometimes a reaction,
emotional reaction.
People.
I can cry to music
example,
easy. Like I have done many times.
Last week I was in Sips' kitchen and we were playing. I said, Alexa, play Toto by Africa.
Yeah,
and
Lewis started to cry.
Africa by Toto, you goon.
We were all
Toto by Africa.
We were all bopping out, just fine. But Sips' daughter was not having it.
No,
she wasn't. She was not enjoying it at all.
Well, it's not. It wasn't the choice of music. She's actually fairly agreeable. The problem with my daughter is that she's very stubborn. She gets it from me. So if she has an idea in her mind that we're going to be listening to "I Like to Move It" and we don't listen to "I Like to Move It," she'll just sulk.
No one's having a good time.
She'll just be fucking miserable about it. And
we
let you know about
like
it too. She's got that type of personality, which I think she gets from me as well, where like you could just tell, like when she's annoyed about something and like the whole atmosphere of the room is brought down by it as well.
I don't think I've ever seen you annoyed. I mean, I've seen you when you're playing a game, you get pissed off. But I've never, when I'm hanging out with you, I've never thought, man, Sips is in a bad mood. Like,
no, I don't really get into bad moods as such. I've
seen you get angry, but it's always slightly funny.
Yeah, well, it's always frustration with myself at a game or something like that, right? It's never like
the game.
I think probably like since I stopped working in an office and probably since I stopped having to be like a responsible adult for the most part, I've been the happiest I've ever been. So like I'm very seldomly like in a bad mood.
Right.
Would you say you're in heaven? Would you say this could be heaven?
This could be heaven
this
on
could
earth.
Be
heaven.
Yeah. Or is this hell?
No, I think I'm a fairly content guy. Actually, it must be some form of heaven. Yeah, like it's pretty good. But
wow, Jersey must be amazing.
I used to get
nice.
like
It's a nice
when I used
place.
to work and stuff. Like sometimes I go into work and I'd just be fucking so mad. Like I'd just be like, shit, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do any of this stuff. I hate all these people and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
I get that.
life can get you down for sure. But I'm lucky that I have a life that doesn't get me down so much now, you know?
Guess what I've been playing for the last few days?
Hungry Hippos.
Nope.
Connect 4.
Nope.
Don't break
Scrabble.
break the ice. Break
Nope,
Toto
it's a
by
video
Africa.
game. It's a video game.
Toto by Africa. A video game. Oh, I know. You've been playing DayZ.
DayZ.
Cinny came into my chat the other day and was like, come play DayZ. And it's like, DayZ.
Let me tell you something.
Somehow still worse than Overwatch.
It's
which
super
is
scuffed.
quite,
It's super scuffed.
quite an accolade.
But for some reason, I've been having fun playing it. I have some complaints. Obviously, I'm not going to go into them here because it's a little boring for everybody. But that game is still full price on Steam.
Oh man, I like the idea of DayZ. I like the theme of DayZ. I just don't like DayZ.
You'd hate it.
It's weird. Like I've had very few experiences with it, and all of them have been bad.
You would hate it. Yesterday, I spent the whole morning stream running in the woods, getting attacked by wolves, fending off zombies. I didn't see another player for like 4 hours. And then I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm walking towards this industrial site to go and loot it. I got my night vision goggles out. I'm peering around. There's no lads. I'm checking. I walk around. There's a dude on a rock. And he just goes and just guns me down.
Yeah.
Hours of work gone.
Yeah.
My whole survival story for that character gone. But I immediately went back in and started again. I don't know why I'm hooked on it at the moment, but I am.
I'm like that with Overwatch now, and have been for like 2 months. I don't know why.
Do you hate yourself?
I don't hate
Do I
myself.
hate myself?
Do you like torture? Because I found a game that you might like. It's a game called Stone Shard.
Oh, isn't that new? Yeah, no, I saw this.
Came out a week ago. Yeah, it's it's been on early access for a little bit before that, but now it's like a single player Battle Brothers. Only you can only save at the inn,
Right.
And so you have your mercenary, and so I started the game. I created my character. I went through the tutorial, blah blah blah, did it all. It was fine, and then got into the game, created a character, walked out of town. There were 2 wolves there. They just savaged me to death.
Oh man.
and I was like, "The fuck is this?"
I can't find anything I want to play. Like there's nothing new out that is overly appealing to me. Like there's nothing that I've seen that's been like, oh fuck, that looks good. I'm gonna try it out or whatever. And I'm kind of like, I know I'm playing a lot of Overwatch right now, which I have played a lot of in the past, but I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I don't really want to play City Skylines again. Like I played it.
Yeah, no,
enough.
I played that.
You know what
for
I
a
mean?
week
Like
or so.
Prison Architect, I played tons of. I don't want to play it again. Like RimWorld, I've played tons of. I don't want to play. You know what I mean? Like I need like something new and exciting. It's just like it's such a rut.
There are games in the works that I'm like, yeah, that looks interesting. That looks cool. But the thing is, do you guys ever play Game Dev Tycoon?
Yeah,
So do you remember in that
I've got it on my
initially-
iPad now.
Oh, it's such a great game.
It's
right?
really
I love
good,
that
yeah.
game.
It is.
So you know the way as you get bigger as a developer, your game development time ends up taking forever. Like it's almost a whole year to develop a game because they're all AAA titles and you've got to get all these bubbles and everything like that for all your guys. Do you suppose that the games now are so complicated that there's just not as many of them? Like the decent games take time. And there's only so many developers making decent games. So we're like, there's nothing out at the moment I want to play. It's like, it takes a long fucking time. People's expectations are so high.
Yeah.
You can't just knock a game out in a few months, bosh, done. It's got to have all these different layers and all the rest of it, just like in Game Dev Tycoon.
It's complicated because like the games are weird and they try and do weird stuff too. Like sometimes they're like a movie, like they've got full story and it feels like just a bad movie and it's like a bad slow movie, And sometimes it's like a puzzle thing and it's like a complicated Sudoku or like, do you know what I mean? Or sometimes it's a mix of those things. Sometimes it's like just a mindless shooty or a clicky thing. I played a little bit of like Wolchen, which is like a new kind of Diablo type game, and it felt like it was like the new evolution of Diablo, and I enjoyed it, but like at the same time, it was like just a little bit like,
Same.
do I care? Like
Yeah.
it's like I get it. Like I think you have to hunt around, but there are hundreds of games coming out every week, like so many, and some of them are really quirky and cool and fun and chill and give you good vibes, good healthy new stuff going on in your brain. There's loads of good recommendations out there. So I would, if you're looking for a new game, just Look at some best of 2019 lists and best of the decade, because there's been some really interesting games, and you probably would have missed one. And I'm doing the same with books and stuff.
So how come, right? Civilization is one of the biggest sort of franchises of all time. Why aren't there more companies making Civilization-style games?
Well, there are.
Why is there only one football management game out there that's any good?
You know,
That's a bit of a niche, though.
hear me out on this
It's
one,
a
okay?
huge seller.
You know,
Yeah.
Farming Simulator?
Right.
I think their model is junk, okay? Like, I get it. Okay, you make one every year and you call it whatever the year it is and you sell all those copies or whatever. But honestly, I think Farming Simulator would be a fucking awesome game if it was a bit more like WoW or something. Like, instead of buying a new game every year, just have like a small subscription or maybe just like a one-time payment to just help them like add new features to Farming Simulator and just make one Farming Simulator really good instead of just releasing the same game year after year after year, right?
You should go on the podcast. Alex and the game devs in the office have made a new podcast. I think it's called like Pitch Perfect.
Right.
They're bringing people in to pitch their games,
Right.
and the game devs talk about whether the game will be possible or not to make and what the downsides would be. If you're interested in that, they go, we just plug in another podcast.
That's unbelievable.
Sorry,
that
I
is
didn't
nuts.
want to do
No,
that.
that's
but-
cross-pollination. They have to pimp us now, and then
Yeah,
the
you got
circle
to
is
make sure
complete.
that they shout us out now.
Yeah, okay. No, Tom H is in it. He's good. He's funny. He edits this podcast.
Shout out to Tom.
He's a good lad.
Top lad. Cut that, Tom.
So, by the way, Oscars happened. Parasite won.
Great
Have
movie.
you seen Parasite?
Great movie.
No, I haven't seen it. People keep telling me I should see it.
It's come out at the cinema this week, and I watched it, and I thought it was pretty weird. But
Oh,
pretty
it's
good.
weird,
Right.
but it's very, very good.
I still haven't seen the most recent Star Wars, but like, I think I'm done.
Don't worry about that. It's not.
I think I'm out. I think
So
I'm
you know
done.
what I watched last
You're not
night?
missing
I
out.
watched The Towering Inferno. You heard of this movie?
Oh my god!
it's a-
T-Flex, do you watch it? Do you watch it on like ITV?
No, it was on TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and
Okay,
about 5
sure.
o'clock because the kids come home from school. We're home at like 3:30, and I let them chill
Fred
and play
Astaire,
their games and stuff
Steve
for an hour. A bit.
McQueen.
Then about 5 o'clock, I go downstairs and I watch some telly. So I watched The Towering Inferno, and for the first half hour,
Quite famous.
it is a very famous movie. Kicked off a lot of those big disaster movies in the 70s, like Earthquake and stuff like that. And the whole point of it is like, you know, someone's cut some corners somewhere and now they've got this fucking inferno in the tower. And there's always like certain trope characters that you got in the 70s that always popped up that's quite funny to see. There's always a slightly chubby, rich, older woman who ends up getting stuck in something. Now, it always makes me laugh because in the Poseidon Adventure, they had the same thing. And it's just funny, these characters that pop up, the same exact characters. If there's kids in the movie, they're always the archetypal American kid with the rosy cheeks and the freckles. Gee, mister, are we going up in the tower today? You know, that kind of stuff. And they're always called like Little Timmy or whatever. Those are real
my
things
God.
that happened in those
Yeah,
movies.
it feels so stereotypical. Yeah, like hokey kind of stuff.
But that was,
Yeah.
that was the thing back then. It was like, put a bunch of kids in there and put them in an inferno or whatever. Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, they'll make a fortune. Like that was it. There wasn't the same. That was like pre-Hollywood auteur movement when it was all taken over by the directors. That it was much more simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
Just bums on seats, asses in seats. That's what we're looking for.
Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave it 2.5 stars, calling it a stunt and not a story. A technical achievement more concerned with special effects than with actual people. Our attitude towards the film's cardboard characters is let them burn.
I mean, the
Yeah.
funny thing is like the big action sequences in those movies. When you compare them, like if you watch what is it called, Deepwater Horizon? That's a disaster movie, more recent disaster movie about the Deepwater disaster, like the oil rig that explodes and everything like that. And the actual sequence where it all fucking falls apart is incredible. It's very dramatic and very well done and very well shot, and it's genuinely sort of terrifying. Modern disaster movies, the disaster is so much more dramatic and amazing, whereas in this, it's like they're in a corridor and the fire goes whoomph, and then you cut to the outside, very distant shot of some poor special effects of fire on a building. And it's just sort of, it feels so basic and claustrophobic because, of course, they couldn't shoot things in the same way back then. So it is quite funny. When you watch Poseidon Adventure, which is a great movie, the whole boat they're on turns upside down and the ballroom is everyone's like sliding like that. but it feels quite simple by modern sort of standards. But these are fun movies. I recommend them. TCM chucks them out all the time.
Yeah, there was a bunch of this. There's a bunch of these. I mean, that sounds like Titanic was inspired by some of that, luxury liner flipping over.
I'm pretty sure the
thing.
Titanic happened before that, Lewis.
Yeah, but like in the same way, like I feel like I've seen these things about a building on fire. And airport is like Die Hard happening or Speed. These disaster movies. I feel like over my lifetime I've seen a movie set in an airport, in a building, in a plane, in a boat.
They're going to base them in something that exists in the world.
I know, but they're part of that. It's good though. I feel like I'm looking for new ones though. I've seen a hospital, and I don't know. Like I'm looking for a new setting.
Have you seen The Abyss?
Yes, underwater, like with them breathing in the.
That's a good James Cameron.
It's a very good movie. I mean, if you read into the story of how The Abyss got made, and we might have even talked about it on this podcast, but it was like it was a disaster. People involved. Yeah.
So read that. They all end up getting stained skin from the water.
Actors put themselves through hell for this.
Pardon me.
Bless you.
Fuck.
Anyway, there you go. That's a bit of Triforce podcast.
That snuck up on me. Sorry.
That's all right, Sips. Sorry, we're sorry. You're allergic to what? Do you want to talk more? What you got?
I'm just going through Steam queues, and I found Winter Resort Simulator.
Oh my god!
Oh, it's crap. Don't bother.
I won't.
No, I played it. It's garbage.
Okay.
And on
I'll give you some. I'll hook you up.
And on that bombshell, yeah.
I'll hook you up with some tips after the podcast. All right. Thanks everybody.
Much love.
All right.
See you next
Peace,
time.
everybody. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.